Good. Hi, everyone. Great to have all of you. So, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So, welcome. We're glad to have all of you. My name's Diana Economy, and I'm the director of Full-Time MBA Admissions at Michigan-Ross. And I'm also an alum of the MBA program, and I'm here with my colleague, Michael.
Good morning or good evening, everybody. My name is Michael Lippert. I've been on this team now for 7 years, but my wife was actually looking to get her MBA about 8 or 9 years ago. And I remember her going through this exact process of like, all the schools sound the same, all the websites look similar, and they all use this jargon. Like, which schools should I apply to? What makes sense? Spoiler alert, it was Ross, and I got to come back to Ann Arbor for a second time. But I'm excited for today's topic because I think it's a good one.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, the way that this is going to work is this is intentionally 30 minutes, right? We heard from you. We know you're zoomed out. We know you're looking to get the most important information in as efficient a way as possible. Our team prides ourselves on being as transparent and student centric as we can be, and so we wanted to do this for you. And as a result of it being only 30 minutes, what will happen is if you've got questions, we actually encourage you to come to our office hours. So every Wednesday, we're doing office hours, and this is an opportunity for you to just drop in, ask your questions, chat with admissions officers. So do keep track of any questions that you may have as a result of the content we present today. But I'm hoping that we give you some pretty good thoughts around how to choose the best MBA for you, because we've heard from a lot of you as well. We think we've captured what most of you are probably interested in as it relates to this topic in particular. So let's kick things off.
All right, well, I'll start us off here, Diana. And the first way I think to understand the school is to look at a school profile. The nice thing is that all the top MBA programs should share a school profile and give you a macro level overview of what their program's about. And the first place people start, even before going to a website of a school, will be the rankings themselves, right? We pay attention to the rankings as a school as well. Keep in mind, there are lots of different rankings. So we won't spend too much time on this, but I think it's good to know that some rankings measure different things. One ranking we're super proud of is that Ross is ranked #1 in alumni effectiveness, right? But that's one of many different kinds of rankings that are out there. And so if you're looking at a ranking service to maybe pick a school that you're interested in, that's natural and we get it. But definitely keep in mind what's part of the methodology of the rankings that they're using to rank those schools. And then location is going to be a really, really big part of what you're looking for in a school profile, right? And so, Ross, for example, is here in Ann Arbor. There are lots of fantastic programs in bigger cities, but it's a very different experience. One thing I always tell folks is that in my mind, Ross is one of the most immersive MBA programs out there. And I think it's a particularly compelling dynamic that 98% of our class will come from outside of Michigan that come to Ann Arbor. So there's an investment in getting to know your network and your classmates and sort of push yourself out of your comfort zone during these 2 years. But there's obviously some different advantages and disadvantages of being in a smaller town compared to a bigger city. Good example also is I, as a partner, it was nice for me to come to a smaller town and share a new place with my wife's classmates and their significant others. And then class size is another one. Obviously class sizes will vary across top MBA programs quite a bit. It will be almost anywhere from 75 to almost 1,000 students. That's a big difference. And there's, again, advantages and disadvantages to each, right? It's nice to have a really big network, but you want to get to know your classmates. Here at Ross, we're about a 400 student class, and we have a little bit of best of both worlds, right? You get to be within a section, a cohort that you go through the entire core curriculum with during your first year of classes. And that's about 80 students. So it's sort of very much just family within a family feel. And then test score ranges, right? And so, as you're thinking about what schools to apply to, it helps to be sort of self-aware and realize what a competitive landscape it is. You might have gotten the advice or read somewhere, right? You have 3 or 4 target schools, 1 or 2 dream schools, and maybe 1 or 2, as they call it, just like safety schools. I'm comfortably within that range. That sort of makes sense as an approach. And here, information is your friend. I was just talking about this at another event a couple of days ago, but we don't hide, some of these admission statistics. If you go to our class profile on our website or almost any school, you could see the range of GMATs in a class, the 80th percentile of a GRE, and that'll give you a sense of where you need to be. There are no minimums for being admitted to an MBA program, but it's obviously a good sense to be within the range of an 80th percentile as you're thinking about applying, right? And then student backgrounds is a really important one, I think, too, right? So some programs like Ross have a lot of career switchers. So are those the type of people I want to be around? We also have a lot of students who have maybe liberal arts or STEM backgrounds. We particularly embrace those backgrounds, and not everybody has a traditional business background. So thinking about the type of people you want in your network and the type of people you would learn best in class around you, every program is going to maybe favor certain backgrounds a little bit more, have a different composition. And so take a look at all of those things as you're thinking about maybe where to start and break down your list a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. The only thing I would add to that is, Michigan Ross, right? If you learn best by doing, this is the place to be, right? We have people who are coming from all different backgrounds and going into all different professional paths. And so we really, really do have a diverse, really wide range of students. And I think it's because the number of hands-on learning experiences that we offer here allow so many people to practice the skills they're hoping to deploy in their future careers, that we get so many people from different backgrounds. So I posted the student ambassador profile page. So do consider connecting with our student ambassadors. It's another good way to get to know more about the school profile. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the career prospects, since we started to hit on that a little bit. One of the things you're going to want to take a look at is the employment report at various schools. I think there's a lot of misconceptions across the board for which schools are good for this particular career path that I want to go into, or which schools are going to get you into a particular geography. If you were to ask me for the number one top myth about Michigan Ross, it's that somehow you're going to be stuck or geographically. So to give some sense, if you were to look at our employment report, one of the things that you'll find is that about 20% of the class goes to Chicago, which means 80% go to someplace that is not Chicago. We have really strong representation on the coast, internationally, you name it, right? So we've got really good opportunities for you to go geographically where you want to go. And the employment report is where you're going to get a better assessment of that. Keep in mind that employment reports are going to show you where people go immediately after school. I don't have the stat handy, but I'll tell you what, the number of people who switch again 2 years later, let's say, is high, just because people say, you know what, I really want to launch my own business right now, or I'm particularly interested in this new and up and coming thing that I'm able to do just a few years out of school. So keep in mind the employment report is immediately after school, and then get a chance to talk to the students to get a feel for, hey, what are their long-term goals and what have they learned about the alumni network and where people are placed, because we do have a giant alumni network. And it's not just the Michigan Ross network that you're a part of, it's the University of Michigan network. The reason that matters is you can go anywhere in the world. Somebody's wearing a Block M, they say go blue, you say go blue. They could have graduated from engineering school, liberal arts, they could be a lawyer, a doctor, you name it. They're going to be a part of your network as well. And that's going to be important because Michigan Ross alums are really well placed. It's a very big but very accessible network. The Economist ranks our alumni network as the most approachable amongst alumni networks. So that's something we're really proud of. And finally, you're going to want to better understand recruiting support at a school. So we are 90+% career switchers, means people are switching either function or industry or both. And what are the different tools that are in place at a school to help you get there? To give some context, Michigan Ross hires over 80 peer career coaches. These are MBA 2s who were just in your shoes, who are going to help lead you through the career process. We have curriculums in place designed to help you get into 20+ different career paths that MBAs typically go into, even a niche career search strategy to make sure you're going to get to where you want to go. And they're going to walk you through that curriculum in conjunction with our professional staff that we have hired in our career office, as well as our career clubs who are going to offer some additional insight. So take a look at the career web pages, take a look at the career clubs, take a look at our student ambassador page, where you can filter by the backgrounds or the professional interests where students are interested in going. And finally, the last thing I'll mention is on our events page where you might have found this event. If you scroll down, we actually have webinars for 10 to 15 different career paths where we spend an entire hour on why Ross for healthcare, tech, marketing, consulting, banking, venture capital, private equity, sustainability, social impact, operations, and more. So take a look at those. Those will help you get a really good feel for what the opportunities are at Michigan Ross.
All right. Well, you're choosing an MBA program, and it's natural that we're thinking about career and job outcomes. But you're also coming to school for 2 years, and you're going to get a great business education. But there's some differences in what business education looks like at each of the top programs. Diana touched on this, but it's extremely important again. So we'll double click on it a little bit. But this whole idea of what style of learning is best for me, and so case method or lecture style or experiential learning. At Ross, our calling card and our claim to fame is very much this idea of action-based learning, that you will learn business best by doing business. And we think that's one of the reasons why career switchers are particularly attracted to Ross, right? It's a way to test your skills out in the field and get real experiences before moving back to the workforce. That is not to say that this is a really important thing to remind everybody of. We have case studies at Ross as well, right? Almost 2/3 of your classes at Ross will have case studies, but it's sort of an ethos and a mindset around learning style. And it also really comes to life sort of in the co-curricular club space. So if you were to talk to a Ross student ambassador about some of their most meaningful experiences, you would hear about our venture funds or the community consulting club, right? Or some of the projects the data and analytics club is working on, because there are students who really want to have hands-on experiences during their 2 years at Ross. And there's just different styles of learning. So thinking about the ways you've learned best, when you've been most excited in your undergrad history or studying, what that looks like for you. Interdisciplinary opportunities are a really big thing, right? So you are researching MBA programs in the within a university, but you're also attaching yourself to the university as a whole and a greater network. And so we are extremely proud at Ross, for example. We have over 100 top 10 graduate degree programs at Ross. And as a Ross MBA student, you could actually take about 3 classes of your MBA across the university at other programs and disciplines. So that's an incredible advantage in a lot of ways, and it also expands your network quite a bit. And so some schools, to be honest with you, the business school is incredible, but it's a little bit of the shining city on a hill, or very disconnected from the rest of campus. And so thinking about maybe what that looks like for you, and if interdisciplinary opportunities are important for you, really understanding how you would get to practice them in a program. Then there are specializations, right? And so as you're doing your research, you'll probably want to look a little bit into how specialized do I need to get? How much flexibility do I have in the classes I'm going to take? Here at Ross, we're a little bit of best of both worlds, I think, in some ways. So your first year is very structured. You go through the core curriculum with your cohort, and then you have your MAP project, which is the last 7 weeks of your first year where you're a consultant full-time. It's pretty well structured. But then in your second year, you can take any electives you would like across almost any sort of area of interest. And so within your second year, you can obtain a number of specializations. So there is a lot of flexibility there, but some programs will actually ask you to sort of specialize on day one as part of your MBA degree. So do a little bit of research on that one. Then global opportunities. Obviously, global business experiences are a really big part of an MBA for a lot of folks. Fingers crossed, the worst of the pandemic is behind us and we can get back to normal a little bit. Global opportunities are going to look a little bit different across programs. So most programs will have traditional study abroad type experiences, but to be honest with you, they're not as popular with students as you think at times, because you don't want to miss out on building your network with your fellow students and in recruiting on campus and things like that. So at Ross, you can actually get a global business experience often through MAP itself, working with a company around the world. Or we have what we call 2-week immersion programs in May, which is sort of before your internship. So there are some other options there. And then finally, dual degree options might be a consideration for you as well. As we talked about, Ross is really interdisciplinary. And so we have a lot of dual degree options. Some of the most popular ones are our ERB program. And so it's a dual degree with the School of Sustainability. We were the first MBA program to have a dual degree with the School of Sustainability. And then we're also just steps away from the School of Public Policy and some other great programs. So take a look at what popular dual degree programs there are and make sure you're not just a single student doing that dual degree at a possible school.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. I ended up, focusing my MBA on the intersection of education and business. I helped to open up a charter school for my internship, and my MAP project was in India, taking a look at the vocational training system in India. And so while I didn't do a dual degree, I did take advantage of the fact that you can take classes outside of Ross. So I took a class in the School of Education, a class at the Public Policy School, and I even took a class where I worked with the Central University on revenue generating strategies for the university. So really cool opportunities to customize your experience while at Ross. The other thing to think about is your fit, right? What is that going to mean for you? What kind of place, where are you going to thrive? And so we talked a little bit about connecting with student ambassadors. That's a great opportunity. We honestly have a few hundred student ambassadors on our webpage, intentionally so, because we recognize there's different parts of your identity and who you are and how you're going to select a school that are going to be important. So you may want to connect with somebody at a particular club, or you may want to connect with somebody who's from where you're from or shares your professional interests. So do think about connecting with a student ambassador. You don't have to connect with, all of them at once. I would just kind of find somebody who matches your background, maybe reach out and see if you can hop on the phone to connect with the students to learn a little bit more. We talked about the class profile. That's a great way to understand where, whether this is a program that's going to meet the balance of backgrounds and interests that you have. When you talk to students and alums, you're going to want to listen for how they're articulating the program. Is there some level of consistency, right? If you pick the one person at a school that like matches your background exactly, you're probably going to hear what you think you would want to hear because they're so similar to you. But how do you react to folks who might have slightly different backgrounds than yours? How are they reacting to the experience? Could you see them as a potential classmate? So keep that in mind as you're talking to students and alums. Keep track of the students and alums that you're talking to, and keep track of the energy that you're experiencing as you're talking to them. Is this somebody that you could see as a classmate? Would you want to talk to more people from the school, or is it not quite a fit? And listen to what you're thinking and feeling in those moments. You're also going to want to take a look at the clubs and extracurricular experiences and opportunities. Michigan Ross has a ton of clubs. We also have more venture capital funds than any other school. So lots of opportunity to do things in a really hands-on way extracurricularly. Students really get into that. So if that's something that you can find, hey, I could find a home here with this club, this opportunity, this organization, it's going to really enhance your experience. And then as Michael talked also about the location and knowing that this is going to be a fit for you, knowing where you're going to want to, maybe bring a partner, how your partner is going to have a role in the community. Those are all things that I think are going to help you assess culture and fit.
So just as we wrap up here, one thing that Diana and I have recommended for a long time to folks, and we're big believers in, is, using a sort of a quantitative driven, no pun intended, comparison tool, sort of just compare apples to apples and help center you in this process. MBA applications are thorough, and so it's not always practical and maybe apply to 10 or 12 programs, right? At some point, you're going to narrow the list down. And honestly, we are aware that our websites and, some of the jargon we use, things all sort of start to blend a little bit. And so just thought it'd be helpful to sort of visualize building yourself sort of a comparison tool in Excel and sort of a simple spreadsheet to take some of the buckets we just described and, keep a list of what is sort of the school's philosophy or stands out about a school in those areas. And then you'll want to weight those as well, right? So all of us have different past experiences, different goals, and some things that mean a little bit more to us than some others, and that's completely normal, right? And so, it's like you can talk to somebody else who, has a significant other in a family, and so maybe going to school in a bigger city is a whole lot harder. But there are others who aren't in that boat, and so you can weight some of the different characteristics as they mean more to you, and it'll give you a sense of which schools kind of are the right fit, and maybe which schools are incredible programs and I could be successful there, but it might just be a little bit more difficult, in terms of my overall fit and experience, and just it's probably there's some other places that make more sense. And so definitely recommend building some of this out, and honestly it'll keep you grounded throughout the process, right? So then when you get admitted to schools and you have strong offers to multiple schools, or you're weighing scholarship offers and it's really hard to follow your gut, you can always go back to this tool and sort of see where you were on the spectrum, and kind of follow what made sense on paper.
As you prepare, we mentioned connecting with our student ambassadors and attending online events. We also have a great admissions blog where we are sharing with you what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what's happening in the process, what we're looking for, even things we might have learned along the way, where we're saying, hey, we're getting a lot of these questions and we want to make sure we're answering them for you directly. So follow our admissions blog, and also take a listen to our Business Beyond Usual podcast. This is our student podcast where they share all kinds of things about life in Ann Arbor. So what life is like living here. We have the partners who do a takeover version of this where they talk about their experience. We actually have a really strong admissions episode where we go through the whole application there as well. That's already recorded, and it's something that you can listen to. Finally, they have episodes like, what does a career in tech really mean? Or what is MBA recruiting really like? So you're definitely going to want to listen to the Business Beyond Usual podcast to get a really fresh take and perspective from our students directly on the experience. With that, we want to thank you for joining us today, and we wish you well in this process. As I mentioned, if you've got questions, do join us for an upcoming office hours or one of our admissions chats, or even one of our Ask Me Anything events where there's no admissions officers present, only students, and you'll get a chance to hear from them directly what the experience is really like. Thanks so much for being a part of this today. We wish you well. Can't wait to review your applications, and go Blue.
Go Blue.